Coming up, today's story has it all. A song that divided fans so much that one actually punched the singer of this band in the face. Then there was the producer that wanted to work with this band, today's band, so badly he stole their demo tape from his rival. And then this band's drummer stole a car on his way to the music video shoot and was arrested. And then the secret sauce of the song actually came from the ace guitarist playing his instrument with a violin bow. All this happened with today's hard rock classic. Today's all-out rocker launched this underground band into the international spotlight and made them one of the coolest bands of their time, truly. Get the story of how today's band fought back and established themselves as an iconic act for the ages. So iconic that both the new wave kids and the metalheads loved them equally. We got the most mystical song of 1985 coming your way, next on Professor of Rock. Hey music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you ever worked a crappy high school job to earn money for that next great vinyl, cassette, or CD purchase, you're going to dig this channel of deep nostalgia. Make sure that you subscribe below right now, click the bell. I know you'll enjoy this channel. Gosh, we haven't done one of these in a while, but I'm excited to return to another one of my favorite shows that we do on this channel. It's called Breakthrough. In this show, we break down songs, albums, or events that kicked open the door to an artist or band's career and gave them that momentum to rocket to long-term success. Today, we're telling the story of a band that was beloved by all cliques in school. I don't know if it was the same in your school. This is how it was in mine. Whether the metal guys or the wavers or the punks, it's the Cult and their breakout classic, She Sells Sanctuary. From their 1985 sophomore LP, Love. Seriously, outside of only a few bands like maybe the Cars, everybody loved the Cult. Didn't matter if you were into metal or new wave, or punk, rock, or pop, everybody appreciated this band. So let's get into it. Back in 1981, frontman Ian Astbury, he founded the post-punk goth rock outfit Southern Death Cult. That was in Bradford, England. For the band's name, he drew inspiration from an old term for a mound-building Native American society in the southeast U.S. In his formative years, Ian had lived in Ontario, Canada, and became an avid student of Native American culture. It was actually a theme that he would routinely incorporate into his songwriting as well. Southern Death Cult released their first single, Moya. That was in December of '82, and they went on tour with Bauhaus the following month. Despite a promising future, Astbury grew frustrated with the press's coverage of the band. You know, the press pegged them as positive punk. So Ian disbanded the Southern Death Cult in 1983. He dropped the word Southern from their name, and then he formed the Death Cult with ex-Theater of Pain guitarist Billy Duffy, the great Billy Duffy, also bassist Jamie Stewart, and drummer Raymondo. Death Cult released an eponymous EP in the summer of '83. Now later that year, Mondo was replaced by Nigel Preston. But to avoid being pigeonholed as a gothic act, the band members chopped their name down to size just one more time. They just called themselves the Cult. This was in '84. And I guess this is as good a time as any to mention that through the Cult's long tenured history, only two band members have remained constants, Ian Astbury and Billy Duffy. They've been the ironclad nucleus of the Cult since the beginning. While both Southern Death Cult and Death Cult had been influenced by post-punk, the Cult sound, it was heavier hard rock with some psychedelic elements, introspective and moody. Their debut LP, Dreamtime, was actually released on August 31st, 1984, and it climbed to number 21 on the UK charts. At breakneck pace, their lead single, Spirit Walker, reached the top of the UK independent charts, and it went to number 77 on the UK singles chart. For their sophomore record, Love, the Cult veered off in a new direction. Released on October 18, 1985, Love has been characterized by a number of stylistic labels: psychedelia, gothic rock, post-punk, and hard rock. Call it what you want, the Cult sound was all their own, and it was completely out of step with the musical climate in the UK at the time, making it a game changer and launching the band into the spotlight via a trio of top 30 singles. There was Rain, Revolution, and their signature masterpiece, She Sells Sanctuary. Now, true, it would take listeners in the United States some time to catch on to the Cult. Their breakout single here in the States was actually Firewoman in 1989. That went to number 4 on the mainstream rock charts and went to number 2 on the alternative charts. But outside the U.S., a lot of the rest of the world was already rocking out to the Cult. I guess you could call Love and its singles the soundtrack of the Cult's coming out party. Looking back on the making of Love, Astbury remembered it as an intense experience. They were completely engaged in the process, in the studio all the time, and they couldn't be distracted from what they were doing. This was really important to them. It was a lot of very long hours, no breaks at all, and a lot of experimentation with new ideas with the band. Said Astbury, I think that's why that record has a constant unity all the way through. It was probably the most honest album we did. We were young and making music because we wanted to, and everything was still so fresh. End of quote. Now, guitarist Billy Duffy remembered that the band wanted Steve Lillywhite to produce the album. But they ended up getting the wrong Steve. This is pretty funny. Apparently, their rep sent a demo that included She Sells Sanctuary and a video over to Lillywhite's manager's office. Only the package read to Steve. Now, the problem was Wham producer Steve Brown, he was also represented there, and seeing it on someone else's desk, he actually nicked the package instead. And for his part, Steve Brown explained that he desperately wanted to produce a guitar-based rock band. But because of his production track record, no one in the rock world would really touch him. Seeing the Cult's demo cassette was just too tempting for him, so he actually stole it. He ran home to his flat and he stuck it in his tape machine straight away. Deep into the second side, he heard the guitar riff for She Sells Sanctuary. His ears perked right up. He was sold. So he actually made an appointment with the band at their rehearsal space. C. Brown said, when I walked into that rehearsal room, with my boombox, it was very, very strange. They were never the easiest band to infiltrate. I mean, Billy Duffy was looking straight at me thinking, what the F is Wham's producer doing here? Whereas Ian was crouched down against a wall with a broad-rimmed hat hiding his face like a bandit thinking, F me, it's Wham's producer, what a blast. End of quote. Billy remembered meeting Steve Brown, and at the time he said to himself, this guy's out of his mind. This is either going to be the best move ever or a disaster. Turns out, it was a pretty good move. Steve got the job, and Love became an iconic album. Now, when it comes to defining the Cult's music, there's one song that stands out above all the rest, in my opinion. Their signature track, She Sells Sanctuary. Now, while Ian Astbury and Billy Duffy have crafted a long list of impressive tracks in their career, the enormity of She Sells Sanctuary is really unparalleled. It is a quintessential entry in their catalog for sure. Written by Ian Astbury and Billy Duffy, Sanctuary reportedly came together very easily. Ian remembered that Billy came up with the melody, and then they worked out a vaguely psychedelic guitar sound. Guitarist Billy Duffy said that during the recording of this song, he happened to find a violin bow lying around in the studio, and he started playing the guitar with it, attacking it like Jimmy Page, just to make Ian Astbury laugh. He hit every effects pedal that he had, to make it sound weirder and weirder. And then he played the middle section of the song. And Billy Duffy would go on to say, and I quote, we decided to start the song with that mystical sound. If I hadn't found that violin bow laying around, we wouldn't have gone there. End of quote. Very cool. Describing what Sanctuary was about, Ian called it a kind of basic love song. And then on another occasion, he said, what's the song about? Sex. Plain and simple, it's about sex. I've had sex and I'm very proud of that fact. Okay. I guess there's a reason why the mantra of Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll is there. But at the time, Astbury and Duffy were deep into 60s psychedelic music, like the Doors and Jimi Hendrix and Zeppelin's early catalog.
Waiting for the sun, waiting for the sun.
This is just as everybody else was going high-tech with synthesizers and the such, drum machines. The Cult, they were getting back to the roots of rock, which meant that the press wasn't exactly championing the album. Even worse, though, some hardcore music fans were outright offended by this. They took matters into their own hands. Literally. Said Ian about it, it was controversial to be punk rockers and still love Led Zeppelin. I remember going out when She Sells Sanctuary got on the charts, and some kid came right up to me and punched me in the face at a concert. There was so much hatred in his eyes, and all that was because we came from punk rock. I think this guy saw us as breaking the code by not pretending we couldn't play our instruments or for having success. End of quote. So one fat lip later, Ian realized his assailants' painful assessment of their music meant they were on the right track, actually. Said Ian about it, to cop a punch in the face for what I was doing in some ways was a great compliment. It at least was honest, and it at least caused a reaction. Now, the music video for She Sells Sanctuary, that was filled with almost as much drama. So this was the Cult's first big budget video. It cost £25,000. Kind of a hefty sum in those days. It was a huge investment. And although the finished product would be striking, the shoot was almost derailed by one band member. The band had rented a theater in Wimbledon, and they had assembled a top-notch team. But when they showed up in the morning, one key member wasn't there, drummer Nigel Preston. He was MIA. Time was ticking away, and the band had just one day to shoot this music video. So as it turns out, Nigel was arrested early that morning in North London for driving a car that wasn't his. Compounding the problem was the fact that he didn't have a driver's license either. He may or may not have been out trying to score drugs as well. Ultimately, Preston was detained by the police, and he never made it to the set that day. So for a quick fix, the band's management called up Mark Brzezinski, the drummer from Big Country, actually.
In a big country, dreams stay with you.
And Mark was in town doing session work, and he was willing to step in and mime the part. When he arrived, it was all business. He threw on a leather jacket, he sat down at the kit, and he banged out the beat. They got the shots that they needed, and he left. It's no fuss at all. Completely professional. This was the final straw for Nigel, though, and he was dismissed from the band outright. All this makes for a counterintuitive scenario, though, because by the time of the shoot, Sanctuary had already been recorded for the album with Nigel on the drums. But after Nigel was dispatched, they brought back Mark to finish the rest of the album. So that means the one song Nigel drummed for the album, he didn't do the video for, and the video that Mark drummed for was the song that he didn't do any work on the album. Go figure. Regardless, the band was really happy with how the Sanctuary video turned out, and decades later, Billy says he still loves it. You know, the angles were nice, we looked good, it captured a bit of smoke and a bit of flag waving from Ian, and it kind of had that magic. For me, it ended up being a classic video. We feel the same way. And with Ian rocking that flamboyant pirate outfit, how can you not love this video? So this episode is turning into something of an unconventional breakthrough because after all, She Sells Sanctuary failed to place on both the Billboard Hot 100 and the US mainstream rock chart. In the States, it really wasn't a breakthrough. Although curiously, over a 6-week run, it did reach number 36 on the US Dance Club chart. That happened in '86. Now that being said, the Cult's real breakthrough came outside the borders of the US, internationally. She Sells Sanctuary, that went to number 35 in the Netherlands. It went to number 27 in Ireland, number 15 in the UK, where it actually certified platinum, and it went to number 11 in Canada, where it went double platinum. Other singles from Love also helped the band crash the global mainstream. with Rain and Revolution reaching number 17 and number 30, respectively, in the UK. Together, these tracks, but especially She Sells Sanctuary, propelled Love to number 4 in the UK charts and number 5 in Canada on the album charts. She Sells Sanctuary, it's also made its way into pop culture, as you know, turning up in a number of movies, TV shows, video games, and commercials over the years. Notable appearances include singles, With Honors,
Very funny, Monty.
Layer Cake, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, That's My Boy, Entourage, Dead of Summer, and Euphoria. Additionally, She Sells Sanctuary has been covered by bands like Berlin, Dishwalla, the Dandy Warhols, and Keane. Of course, beyond She Sells Sanctuary, the cult has put together a stellar legacy. Teaming up with famed producer Rick Rubin, they surged back into action with their third album, 1987's Electric. That climbed to number 4 in the UK and broke into the top 40 in the US at number 38. Love Removal Machine, Little Devil, and Wildflower would all be top 40 hits on the US mainstream rock chart, with Love Removal Machine reaching as high as number 15. Their next album, Sonic Temple, that elevated the band to even greater heights. This is when they peaked commercially in the US. The album went to number 10. Also in the UK, it landed at number 3. The 90s would bring more albums, including 91's Ceremony and 94's eponymous offering. In all, the Cult have released 11 studio albums, and though there have been breakups and, rotating band members, they are still going strong. I just saw them live a couple years back. Amazing. Their most recent release, Under the Midnight Sun, that came out in 2022. In all, the Cult have released 19 charting singles on the UK singles chart and 13 on the US mainstream rock chart, including 8 top 20 hits. Although She Sells Sanctuary isn't one of them, but it's their biggest song. I remember distinctly the first time that I heard She Sells Sanctuary. It was on MTV, I saw it. It's back in, I think, 86. It knocked me out straight away. A couple of minutes into the song, I was waiting for the credits to know who sang this amazing song. I had to have it. And then my mom started calling me upstairs to clean my room. She was getting really pissed. Get up here right now. Now, I was desperate to know who sang this song. I didn't know if I'd ever see the video again. Finally, she screamed down to me, "If you don't get up here in 5 seconds, you are grounded." I couldn't do it. I couldn't pull myself away. About a minute later, the video ended and I saw the Cult. My mom appeared just then and said, "You are grounded for 2 weeks." I didn't regret it though. I paid the ultimate price for Sanctuary. I spent the next couple days, calling up radio stations requesting the song to get it recorded off the radio with one of my tapes. The only problem was there was no station in Idaho who had the song. They thought I was crazy. They never heard of this band. So I kind of gave up. Well, a couple days later, a miracle happened. So this older kid came over to see my older sister. She was babysitting us. I was being the annoying little brother and, just kind of messing around. And he had this case of cassette tapes with him. He brought it out of his car to get me out of their hair. He said, "Hey, take this down and listen to these cassettes," because he knew that I liked music. So I'm looking through his collection. I couldn't believe it. I saw the Cult, Love. It was an 80s miracle. My heart about exploded out of my chest. I hurriedly, recorded it onto a blank tape on my dual deck, and I listened to it until I wore it out. It's a memory that gives me a shot in the arm every time I think of it. Long live the Cult, baby. Thanks so much for watching. Leave us a comment about the Cult and She Sells Sanctuary. What do you remember about the Cult? Do you remember the first time you heard this band? There are like 10 or 15 moments in your life when you hear a song that just blows your mind. This was one of them for me. Let me know what some of yours are. What are your memories tied to this? Barry? We'll let you know how it goes. If you like our content, we invite you to subscribe below. We'd love to have you. This all helps us to keep the music alive, and that's really what it's all about. Till next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.